Hello and welcome everyone. So we recently got a new trailer for Resident Evil 4 Separate Ways, and we're just going to kind of run through it and then break it down frame by frame. I've already seen this trailer a handful of times, but we'll go ahead and run through it once before we break it down. So let's get it started.
There is this one thing I must do before I can recover the Ember. Leon and that young woman, they're both infected.
Okay. But this is your last chance.
Can't wait to see these two work together. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then we got the Vertigo.
What would I do without you?
Be parasite food. Touch the Ember. We'll meet up later.
No! Sorry, what kind of a man leaves a lady?
Sorry, Luis. It might be a while.
The grappling mechanic looks like it's going to be a lot of
Stop
fun.
wasting my time, Ada. Just get it done.
It's our guy Wesker.
Gotta keep the client happy.
Yeah, this gameplay looks a lot of fun.
You must already feel the effects, eh?
I need to put that thing down.
There are things I must set right.
Why is this so important to you?
Oh, Ada. What to do with you?
Luis, the goodbye's gonna have to wait.
So much to look forward to.
Whose blood are you here for this time?
That all depends on you.
And then there it is, Wesker in the flesh. Alright, so let's go back over this, check out a couple of the frames and talk about it in a little more detail, give my thoughts on it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Ada and Luis working together. One of the things, like I said before, that I really liked about the remake is that they really fleshed out Luis's character and he was a lot more involved. And so I can't wait to see how much he does in Separate Ways, because in the original Separate Ways, he didn't really have much of a role. He had one scene outside of the cabin where he speaks to Ada, and then that's it. The next time we see him, he gets killed by Sadler. So he didn't really play a huge role, and therefore I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of impact he'll have in Separate Ways. It already seems like he's going to have a lot to do, so I can't wait for that. And then, of course, we have the Vertigo teased here in the beginning. And it seems as though during the castle portion, this Vertigo is going to be playing more of a pursuer type. And that's going to be kind of interesting to see. A lot of people were kind of speculating when Resident Evil 4 Remake was first announced, will there be a pursuer type? People were saying, could it be Chief Mendez or the Vertigo or maybe even Dr. Salvador? And when the game came out, there was no pursuer type, which I personally was okay with. I kind of felt like we needed to take a break from that. But it does seem as though the island is going, or the castle in Separate Ways is going to have the Vertigo play that sort of role for Ada. And I think that's sort of interesting. And I'm okay with that because it's just the castle. It's not like the whole Separate Ways campaign is going to have that. So for it to just be the castle, much like Lady Dimitrescu was in Village, I think this would work. And then I think that's really cool to see. I'm glad that the other Vertigo is showing back up. And then, let's see, we got Luis getting taken off by a rope. And then right here, this is what I'm looking forward to. The mechanic of the grapple, I think, is going to be a lot of fun because not only can it get you from point A to B, but it also seems that it can take away enemy shields and stuff like that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what other mechanics it could possibly have. For instance, in the original Separate Ways opening, Ada does some like cool move with her grappling in a cutscene where she causes one of the Ganados to fall over and break its neck. I think it'd be really cool if you could do something like that in this version of Separate Ways. Who knows? You know, like maybe you could stun them, and instead of kicking them, you could do something with your grapple. I think something like that would be really cool, but who knows if that will actually be something we can or can't do. We then have our guy Wesker, and I can't wait to see Albert Wesker and the role that he'll play in Separate Ways. Because in the original, he was in the background, but in this version, he actually shows up physically towards the end of the trailer. So I'm going to be really fascinated to see how that kind of plays out. Other than that, though, I kind of feel like his role is pretty much going to be about the same, where he's communicating with Ada, telling her what to do. He'll probably want Ada to take out Leon and all these other things. The big difference, though, is that unless they reveal something else, it doesn't seem as though Krauser is a part of Wesker. So he won't be bringing up Krauser, I'd imagine. So that would be the only other thing that will really change there. Let's see, we got a Garrador fight. All right, so we have our Vertigo friend here. And I'm very interested about the Vertigo because a lot of people are saying that this Vertigo is going to mutate into the U3. And I do think that is possible. It could definitely happen. And this has a Vertigo or a U3 kind of look to it. So it's definitely a possibility that that will happen, where the Vertigo is sort of tracking down Ada throughout the castle portion of Separate Ways. And then at the end, it goes full on U3 mode. And so that ends up being the final fight with the second Vertigo. I think that'd be very interesting. I also wouldn't be opposed if the U3 is still its own separate thing and it shows up during the island portion. I'd be cool with that as well. But either way, I do believe that the U3 is going to make it in, considering that all of this other cut content has been shown off. So it really wouldn't make much sense for U3 not to show up. And then we have an El Gigante. And so I guess that's going to be sort of Ada's boss fight in the village. I think that's pretty much what we're going to get there, because that was what we had in the original Separate Ways. Was she could go into the area where there was that one El Gigante and you could fight it, but that was about all you had. So I think that's what they're going to be doing here as well for the village. And then the castle, it will be the Vertigo / possibly U3 mutation. And then the island, it will be the humanoid version of Sadler. And I think that's what the boss fights are pretty much going to be for Ada. All right, let me get this here. All right, so here we've got the laser room, and I am so happy to see that this is back. Like, this was such an iconic room in the original, and so it's definitely cool to see that it's back once again. And it really fits well with Ada, given that she's so acrobatic and she has the grappling gun and stuff like that. So it's just really cool to see that this is back here. It's not cut completely. We are getting it in some way, shape, and form. And so definitely happy to see that that has once again made a return. And then let's see. A better shot of the lasers. Ada putting in some sort of chip for something. I'm sure we'll find out what it's for. And let me see. Ada on a jet ski. All right. It's like the fungus. I'm trying to find it. There's like a specific scene. Here, I'll let it play and see if I can find it. Nope.
Luis, the goodbye's gonna have to wait.
Yeah. There it is. Okay, so this is what I'm kind of interested in here, because this looks like Luis giving Ada the sample. And I'm a little interested in where this is taking place, because in the main game, the whole thing is that Luis is trying to get the amber sample to give to Ada, but he never gets around to that because he ends up getting killed. So that never actually happens. So where is this taking place? That he is actually handing Ada the amber, but she never gets the amber until the end of the game. So I'm very curious as to like when this is taking place exactly. I'm assuming this is going to be my theory. I think he gives her the amber, she has it, but then she gets knocked unconscious, she gets infected, and she loses the amber once again. So I think that's what is going to end up happening. I think she'll get her hands on it, but then when she gets knocked out some way and then infected, she ends up losing the amber. They take it from her. So I think that's what's actually going to happen here. So that's going to be my theory on that. We'll see if I'm right. That's the only thing I could think of that really makes sense there. Oh, I missed it just a little bit. Hold on. Darn. There we go. Got it. So Ada is looking rough right here. Like the plaga is starting to really take its hold. She's looking like Leon and Ashley do far into the game. And so here's what I'm really curious about at this point. When we fight Sadler in his humanoid form, will Ada still be infected? And will Sadler be using that to his advantage to take Ada down? Because in the original Separate Ways, the way she gets defeated is that she defeats Sadler. He falls down, he's out, and then she takes the sample, and then that's when he sneak attacks her, and that's how she gets defeated. So I'm wondering if instead of that happening, will she actually have the advantage, and then all of a sudden Sadler's like, think again, and then he just like manipulates the plaga with inside of Ada, and she just falls to her knees, and then that's game over. She gets tied up, and then that's when Leon finds her. I kind of feel like that might be what happens. And then once she gets cut down, she'll end up leaving for a minute to like cure herself possibly, and then help kill Sadler with throwing the grenade launcher. Or maybe that's how she gets cured. Maybe she never actually gets rid of the plaga. Just when Sadler dies, the plaga can never fully mature and it just kind of dies within Ada. Maybe that's what happens. So it's going to be really interesting to see all of that play out. And then I think, let me make sure. I think that's it as far as the main stuff. What was that just now? Let me see if I can find it. Right there. Oh, darn it. Oh, I'm like a second off. It's like these hands show up. Just kind of curious as to what that is. I don't know if that's a different boss fight or what that could possibly be, but let me go ahead and get to the main piece here if I can find it. Right here. All right, so this is what I'm really interested in, is that we have Wesker showing up in the flesh. Like he is here physically. And I'm really interested in at what point is this actually taking place in, because in the main game, Ada gets the amber sample, flies away in the helicopter, talks to Wesker on her communication radio, and then forces the pilot to go in a completely different direction. So where is this taking place? Because it can't be on the island because she flew away. So it can't be there. And I'm kind of curious as to how it is Wesker found her. Maybe she went to an organization like I had suggested in a different video, and Wesker tracked her, or Wesker was conveniently a part of that organization and he met her outside. So maybe something like that is what happened, but I'm really curious as to like where this takes place. Because if it was on the island, it really wouldn't make sense, because why would Ada then leave the island, fly off, and then communicate with Wesker like everything's cool? That can't be what it would be. So I'm really fascinated to find out where this is taking place. And it would be really cool if Wesker was like replacing Krauser as a boss fight for Ada. That would be so cool if that actually happened. I don't think it will, but it would be really cool if it did. My only issue with that being the case is I don't know where this would fall. It has to fall post Resident Evil 4 main events. It has to be. That's the only explanation as to like what is happening. But it does seem like it's going to answer the question that I had made a video on as to how is Wesker going to obtain a sample. It seems like he tracks down Ada after all, and he gets that amber sample from her. unless she pulls a fast one, which Ada is definitely known for being able to do, and escapes with the Amber still, it looks like Wesker's going to get that sample from Ada. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff I'm looking really forward to. It seems like they've done a lot more with this version of Separate Ways as opposed to the original Separate Ways, which was always a fun campaign to me. I always loved it because I get to play as Ada, and that's always going to be a big W for me. But this version, it just seems like they're adding so much more. And I love things like having the laser room and the vertigo and stuff like that. I think it's going to add a lot more to it rather than having the random scene where you're taking down a huge military Navy ship and stuff like that from the original. I think this is a lot cooler here. And other things like Wesker showing up physically really have me intrigued. Like, I am so fascinated as to like what this is, where this is taking place, and how it's going to play out. But we shall know in a few days. Like I said, I plan on live streaming it once it comes out and checking that out. But that's pretty much my breakdown. That's all my thoughts and everything. I'm going to go ahead and get ready to wrap up this video here. And I will see you all on the next one. See ya then.